Hello, everybody. This is a little bit of a more detailed race update after our race update this morning. We've got John Curnow from Sailworld. John, great to have you on board. You and I spent countless hours chatting about what's really going on since the start of the race when the gun fired back in Sydney. But now the front runners are shaping up like it looks like sort of the 1 minute countdown to another start. The three of them literally within a third of a mile of each other, all off the coast of Tassie, somewhere between Shooton and Coles Bay, and looking like they're starting, for line honours all over again. You've been running the numbers on this. Tell us a little bit about what you're thinking is going to happen at the front of the fleet, and then we might talk about the rest of the fleet after that. All yours.
Well, look, firstly, thanks. Great to be here. Lovely to talk with you as always. And I think the big thing from this end is clearly Huey's having a wonderful time shuffling the deck and reshuffling the deck. And I dare say we're going to have another deck shuffle before too long. Yes, they've definitely had a couple of resets from St Helens down to Bicheno. And now they're sort of more aligned at around the Shooton Coles Bay area. We'll get another reset at Tasman, and then of course yet another reset at Iron Pot as well.
I might
So
just do a
it's
screen
been a
share.
great time.
Might do a screen share of the tracker, and then we can sort of talk to that. So let's get down to where they really are. In close here, you can
It's
see that,
looking
John.
good.
Yep. And
Yep,
so we've
that's
got
looking
the
great,
group of
isn't it?
three just off Shooting Island now, and they're doing Comanche's just slightly in the lead, but there's nothing in it, 14 knots. And you can already see the jibes they're doing in that line there. Yeah.
Oh, look, exactly. And the reason for that is that you don't want to be too far off to the east where the breeze changes radically very quickly. And you don't want to be too far to the west because you have to dig your way out from all the bricks. Shooting Island, Maria Island, Tasman, the photographs will tell you exactly what you're dealing with there. So it's a fantastic match racing scenario of
Yeah.
jibe, jibe, and jibe. And boats that have got stressed rigging. Law Connect, of course, has a mainsail issue. Radio silence from Scallywag, as we would expect. So we don't know what state they're in, but clearly they've jumped to the front, so it can't be too bad. And now Comanche's back as well. So
And
it's a
then
wonderful scenario.
yeah, so we've got these three in here, all literally, and we've seen photos off the boats. They're literally looking, shouting a distance across at each other, and with the mainland, looming large behind them, and then Lucky coming down behind, who's doing 17 knots,
Yeah.
12 foot shorter, but super quick. So she could very easily close up with these guys, couldn't she?
Exactly. And the other thing to notice is that she's sort of on the front bottom lobe of that 20 knot, maybe even 25 knot little. It's almost like a wallet of wind just sitting there off that mid-east part of the Tasmanian coastline. It's not very wide.
Might
Probably
just
looks a
might
little bit
might
like
just
a hot dog.
have a look at this now. So if we wind forward
Yeah,
to where are we now, Wendy? We're at midday,
we're
are
at
we?
about
Sort of.
midday.
Oops. Here we go.
Oh, there you
Uh, here we go. So it's somewhere about
up there.
here. And if we
Yep.
go in a bit closer, that bit sensitive. But
Yes,
here we
yes,
are
that's it.
down around here, and we've got good 14 knots in there at least. Oh, sorry, I'm jiggling around a little bit here. We'll get it right.
That's
A good
okay.
solid, even here off here, yeah, 16 plus knots. So
Yeah,
more than
and
enough breeze for these
um,
guys to be up on the edges, the wide guys to be able to get
and don't
minimum.
forget the puffs are going to be well over 20.
True enough. Yeah, of course. Quite true.
So,
Uh,
17 knots, yeah. And every
yeah,
one of those puffs, the boat like Lucky's just going to accelerate. They will
yeah.
have her right on her chines, so heeling over. And yeah,
So
jibe
let's
practice. Eh?
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the big question, because you've been doing the numbers, is irrespective of who it might be of that group, if we assume they're all coming down here pretty fast,
Yep.
when are they likely to be getting in? You've done crunching some numbers, but the main issues here is that they get far enough down to Tasman Light, yes, in order that they get into Cross Storm Bay and up the river before the usual close down. Is that really the biggest scenario issue?
Well, definitely. I think the fact that if you move the slider a little bit on for the wind to sort of
Yeah, you can
say
start seeing
7:30 at
it
night.
coming in. It's beginning to get, that's 3 o'clock this afternoon. It's already beginning to lighten up. As you can
Yep.
see, all this blue and purple here is all the lightest stuff. So,
Yep. And
and even if
even
they get
starting to
round,
lighten at Tasman and Cape Rowell as well. So, you're in at 5 o'clock, you go to 6 o'clock,
Yeah,
and the blue's creeping further and
yeah,
further east,
yeah. You're
and
getting some
then the
purple
purple
even hinting
starts
in
to
here.
come in. Yeah.
So if we go into the river at say what are we now? That's 7 o'clock. Let's just go a little further. Um,
Yeah.
in the river itself, you've got 4 knots if you're lucky.
If you're lucky, and directly sort of a
What's
beam. So,
90? Yeah, 95. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, directly sort of a beam. But I guess the big thing is at this stage, the River Derwent doesn't look to be wanting to do its usual nighty night at
yeah,
somewhere around, say, 9 o'clock.
yeah.
But my money would be that the boats will finish somewhere between 10 and 11 should the River Derwent stay open.
Yeah, and in fact, I think the recent word off Lorcanet from Chris Nicholson was somewhere between 9 and 12 tonight. So I think we're all on that one. Just before we move to the rest of the fleet, John, who do you think out of this little lot up the coast here, this little group, with Palm Beach not that far behind, it has to be said, and she loves this stuff, the sort of mid to light VMG downhill, she could easily catch up if any of them have a patch anywhere at all. Who do you think this most favors in these sort of phases of decent wind for the next few hours, but then really quite light again?
I think you've sort of hit it upon the head, but there's another one to throw into that mix as well. Not that they're probably going to be able to do anything about line on us, but remember they're chasing the overall win, and of course that's Celestial.
Yes,
If it's
true.
over 15, the Volvo all day, every day, it's what they're designed for. And Ericsson 3 was a very, very quick boat and a leg winner in the Volvo. So, and she's of course got brand new sails. So
Yeah,
you'd have to be thinking that Celestial comes into that. You're dead right about Palm Beach. Nobody points downhill quite like the Reichel Pew pencil.
yep,
So, I think they're the ones. And of course, we talked about it earlier on. Whilst Lucky's there, whilst Lucky's afloat, whilst Lucky's got her sails up, you know, it's just the perennial always looking over your shoulder because they're going to be there or thereabouts.
yeah,
So, and there's Palm Beach off Bicheno.
yeah, yeah,
So,
exactly. And they're doing
my thing is that they'll make
18
sort of,
knots, 18
sorry,
knots
mate?
and 174 perfect VMG stuff.
Yeah, and they'll get out a little bit further east now, having used the stuff off the beach,
Yeah,
and they'll see a little bit more of that stronger wind that, of course, that Lucky's been playing around in,
yeah,
and Celestial is going to be coming down on that slightly stronger breeze. It is only slight, but remember these boats can use every knot over 15 straight into horsepower and down to the wheels, and off they go.
cool. Okay, well, that's fantastic. All in the lap of the gods and some very good sailing here, as you say, some match racing. Let's just go back up the course and see who else, because what really interested me earlier this morning was how far west of the rum line all of these guys are, and presumably they're chasing that narrow band, aren't they? They're going with the breeze that's coming around. So the high is moving off to the right here. All of these breezes now gradually over the next few hours will start swinging around through north into the west, through into the northeast, and then really
Yep.
downwind stuff. So presumably these guys just want to make sure they're not too wide and in the light stuff, yeah?
Well, I would think that's right. I think the best thing for them is that they're all aiming to be on the other board
Yep,
and utilising it on port,
yep,
and they'll be in a position to maximise it. Some of the boats in there, probably headed up by Callisto, being the Pack
yep,
52, and Div 1 leader still.
yep,
They're going to be able to turn and burn, and then you've got some of the heavier craft. But I also noticed that if you dig a bit deeper, some of what we've referred to as the ocean graders, being DKs and first 45s and all the rest of it, they're
yep.
starting to look a little bit like they're in there. You've got cool cats in there. There's one
Who's
of
there?
them
Yep,
there,
yep.
and I think those ones there and Rum Bucket, those ones there would be boats that you'd want to start to make sure you had on your register to keep looking at, because as they get to use it and hopefully get to use it all the way down the coast, then they're starting to look a little bit better under the old IRC.
So let's just go back and look at the weather pattern then for those guys. So this is 11
There's
o'clock.
that little wallet or sausage
Yeah,
up there now,
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
and that's
So if
what
we can,
Celestial's currently in.
yeah. So if we, oops, a bit too far out. Let's go here. So if we roll this forward, that's 11 o'clock tonight, where in theory, front runners might well be in. And you can see this high moving off to the right now, and these breezes coming around the top of the high. And then as we move forward, that then gets stronger and goes into northeast for the guys coming behind. So anyone who's departed Green Cape is in pretty good flow. There's little bits of patches of the high hanging on. But as you go forward, say to this 11 a.m. tomorrow morning, you've got pretty consistent breeze all the way down this coast, yeah?
Well, yeah, and I think the other one too to point out there is the transition for anybody who's currently in Bass Strait to be getting past Flinders and down into St Helens, because once you've made that transition, then you're in breeze in the orange there, which is sort of that 20 knot mark where your cursor is right now. So I think the biggest thing from all of that is that people are utilising the horsepower now, but at some point you don't want to be too west of Flinders because you've only got to dig your way out.
Exactly. And as you see, you roll forward, say, to 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, stacks of stuff off shooting there, and indeed even off Tasman, and get stronger. You've still got a little bit of a light air transition. It's not that light. So what if you were to sort of say now, if this pattern persisted in this vein, where do you think overall might lie? If, say, for the sake of argument, Lucky wasn't quite in there, where in the rest of the pack, and she might well be, of course, if it wasn't her, where in the rest of the pack do you think the greatest advantage is to be had?
I believe it's anywhere from sort of Margaret Rintle 5 down to the DKs and the first 45s and so forth, in that 45 through to 60-foot displacement type vessel. For my money, that's real, because they've got a lot of them, like the DK, which is a Mark Mills hull, runs beautifully. It doesn't reach, but it runs. And with that dead behind, those boats, of course, are on spinnaker poles, not asymmetric. So they're going to be well deep at 155 plus.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you, John. That's really fascinating. We're obviously going to be chatting plenty more as the boats come down the coast here, but that's really helpful sort of insights as to how we think the weather might pan out. And of course, who knows how it does actually turn out, but great to have the discussion, and we'll catch up again shortly.
Yeah, and I guess the other one to look out for too is the high that was on its own has now bent its ridge into the high that's in the Indian Ocean. So there's actually a whole ridge line of high stretching right throughout the Great Australian Bight and over into the Indian Ocean.
Right.
And it squeezed the low was sitting between them down into the Southern Ocean. So it's all a high pressure scenario, and it'll fluctuate around those northerlies, whether it's northeast or northwest, for quite a while. And as you can see over the mainland, remain pretty soft. Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, John, thanks very much for that. We'll catch up again. Might be doing another one of these a little later on.
Well, let's hope you're out on the water bringing somebody in, but definitely anytime.
It would be lovely if it was we thought we were doing really well not having them come in on night. Over the first night, we'll get a daylight finish, and now it looks like we're going to get a nighttime line on us finish the following day.
Well, it's really interesting, isn't it? Because the original modelling was showing 2 days, 10 hours for the super maxis, and they won't be that short of it if it is 11 o'clock tonight when they cross. So let's just see. It'll definitely be somewhere, I would say, between 2 days, sort of 8 hours, and 2 days, 10 hours.
Cool. All right. We'll talk again soon. Thanks, John. Catch you later. Bye now.